Good morning. Could we, here's the yoga thing. We would chant Om together 3 times. Can we do it? So let's exhale completely. And then deep inhale into the belly, into the abdomen. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Good morning. Very good to be with you. Om. Namaste. So namaste, one way to translate it would be the unity in me sees and prostrates to the unity in you. So it's an honoring of the unity, which we actually are. Om. And nutshell, what a beautiful expression of the unity. And then the meditation prior, yes? Someone said different, but in fact, we feel the harmony, which is indicating action in perfect unity. Yeah? So we feel the harmony in the music. So the discussion, we continue this discussion, this service, honoring the unity, the oneness, which we are. And so we'll explore it a little bit more together. We said putting unity in practice is the theme of the morning and the theme of this discussion. And so we'll back up for a moment and talk a little bit about unity and what it is, the perspective that's given to us. We all hear, we've all heard, we are one. We hear that. In fact, we say it. Often we say it to correct someone. We're one. One of the great teachers in the Vedic tradition, his name is Swami Sankarananda, and he has a beautiful commentary on Bhagavad Gita. And one of his commentaries on one of the shlokas, he says, if we actually knew what we are all one meant, then we would know that the person who steals $100 from us, that $100 is simply moving from one of our hands to another. Okay, speaking of hands, which hand is this? And this? My left hand. Okay. So, practically speaking, if my left hand looks at my right hand, give it the power of sight, and give it the power of ego as well, the ego sense. So if my left hand looks at the right hand, forget me for a moment, my left looks at the right, what does it see? No, it doesn't see another part of itself. It sees an opposing force. Yes? And if my right hand looks at my left, what does it see? Same thing. So instead of the left seeing the right, the left sees the wrong. And the right, instead of seeing the left, sees the wrong. Only if I step back here do I see that they're both my hands. Is it correct? Only if I step back. And that's also our situation here. Only if I step back. And I have to consciously step back. I have to consciously step back. Because the left hand, if it were a separate entity, is experiencing a life of separation. And same here. And of course, in society, we would imagine that if the right didn't exist or the left didn't exist, that things would be perfect. But actually, perfect life here requires, it's not just that it requires, but there's always this. I was talking with someone yesterday evening. I'm staying at Triple Crane Retreat Center. Has anyone been there? I know that. Wonderful, beautiful. And Trevor Eller comes here from time to time, I know, and talks. And Trevor introduced me, in fact, here the first time last year I was able to come, and that was through his introduction. And I was talking with someone, and the topic of the Tao came up. I was joining a dinner yesterday evening. There's a program going this weekend, and they were having a Chinese buffet, so I got invited to the Chinese buffet. And I'm sitting across from this dear soul who has some familiarity with the Tao. And in the Tao tradition, there is the yin and yang. And the yin and yang are opposites, and that defines this world, the pair of opposites. Where there's left, there's no left independently. What is the meaning of the word left? What is the meaning of a left hand? Yeah, left only exists related to right. Right only exists related to rich, only exists related to good, only exists related to, yeah, and evil only exists related to good. Jai. So we'll talk a little about just the point of the philosophy. And the words don't independently have meaning. The words are always pointers for us. But I'll share a teaching, Mahavakya, from Adi Shankaracharya. And Shankaracharya within the yoga tradition is seen as a significant figure. And he says this about truth. He says, Brahman Satyam, and I'll translate, we'll talk about for just a moment. Brahman Satyam, Jagat Mithya, Jivo Brahmeva Naparaha. Anyone heard? Okay. Brahman is a word for absolute truth. It's a word denoting absolute truth, absolute reality. So it says something that sounds, and Sat is a word meaning truth. And so it says something that seems very strange. The truth is true. The absolute truth is always true. That's the first part of the statement. Yeah, it's kind of like in the Muslim faith, we would get God is God. So the truth, that's one word for the truth. The absolute truth is always true. World is illusory. World is illusory. Now, some people will say it doesn't exist. It doesn't mean that. It means world is an idea. Each of us have our own idea about what the world is and about the way it should be. Yes? So it remains illusory. We can't pin it down. We can't find out what the real is because every aspect of it that we deal with has no independent meaning and no independent reality. This entire world is made of the pairs of opposites. So every meaning here is only relative. So I find my truth in this way. But my truth in this way is a limited truth. So world is illusory. You can't put your finger on it. The great French philosopher Immanuel Kant, he said, I think, therefore I am. And scholars might disagree because I amness would underlie thinking. But in any event, in his personal meditations, he said this. He said, that which I am certain of, I do not know. And that which I know, I cannot be certain of. And he's referring to that which I am certain of. How many are certain that I exist? You can say it yourself, I exist. Is it true? If you deny it, who denies it? I am certain that I exist. It's true. Who am I? That's a good question. I'm neither man nor woman. I'm neither young nor old. That's the pairs of opposites. Yeah? Doesn't define me. That defines the skin suit that I'm wearing, doesn't it? Yes? That speaks to the experience that I'm having. It doesn't define me in essence. I exist. I exist. So Immanuel Kant was saying, I am certain that I exist, but I do not know. I do not know I do not know myself. I do not understand myself. I do not comprehend myself. And that I know, I cannot be certain of, because everything in the world is relative, constantly changing, constantly in flux. Yes? Do we experience change all the time? So what is this unity? And then, Jivo Brahmeva Naparaha. Jivo is the individual soul. Brahmeva is the absolute reality, the absolute truth. Naparaha, non-different, are not other, are not different. So he says, I and God are one. I and God, I and the absolute reality are non-different. Non-different. If I exist, where does my existence come from? Yeah, existence itself. And everyone and everything is experiencing that I exist, yes? So, Om. Om. One of the great Upanishads, Mandukya Upanishad, it says that all of this, past, present, future, all that has been, all that will ever be, all that is now, is verily Om. What is Om? Om is a vibration. Yes? Om is a vibration. In manifest form, that vibration becomes every single object in this world. Now that's completely consistent with scientific discovery 100 years ago. The objects are vibration, appearing as objects, appearing as you and me in separation. Yeah? And I have a sensual experience. I have an experience through the five senses. What are these senses? Vibration. What is the experience I'm having? Vibration. Even if I touch this podium, at no point do the atoms in this finger ever touch the atoms in the podium. The space between you and me, if we talk with a physicist, a particle physicist in this time, in this age, we could say, please explain this space between you and me. And they will say, well, actually, we can't tell any difference between you, me, and the space. So this unity that we're speaking of is essential. It's essential. It's the essence of us. It's the reality of us. In truth, we're not actually separate. This is what's being shared. It seems like we are, and yet this seeming like we are is universal. Take a moment on that. The feeling that we're separate, which you only have during waking state, and you do not have when you're listening to beautiful music, and you do not have when you're having that peak experience of happiness, real happiness, in that moment, no feeling of separation, correct? That sense of separation is false, and it itself is universal. It itself is universal. Everyone has the same experience. So tell me where the separation is. Yeah? Where is it? That's universal. This is universal. This mind. The only difference is different thoughts are being entertained. But the mechanisms of the mind are identical. The skin, your skin. The hearing, your hearing. Yeah? Different? Same functions, yes? Same functions. So what's being pointed to is, in reality, we are a unity. We are a unity. Any way we explore it, and an unexplored life, in a way, is a wasted life, because if we don't explore this life, if we accept that I'm actually separate, if we accept that we're other, if we accept that I'm right and you're wrong, which every one of us are experiencing the voice of in this mind, yeah, if we accept it, we miss the unity, we miss the harmony, we miss the joy. If we accept it. If we strive to go beyond this banal acceptance of this idea of separation, if we strive to explore life, to really get to it and to get at it, we discover the unity. And this is actually what's required. So we said practical, and I'll just, I'll share this and then a couple of other points, just for reflection. Swami Vivekananda, one of the other great yogis, he says this about our experience. When you think you are a body, you are apart from the universe. Not a part of, apart from the universe. When you think you are a soul, you are a spark of the great eternal fire. When you think that you are the Atman, or the self, capital S self, you are all. Truth is, each of us are all. There is no separation between us. But if we take there to be, then our lived reality is separate. It's as simple. If we discover and take ourselves each to be the all, seeing ourselves wherever we go, that is correct, that is true also, and this is the experience we will have. The only difference between the ones that we call the saints and the ones that we call the sinners, or me, the only difference is the worldview, the way that they see. It's the inner view. It's the only difference. Where we see diversity, there is unity. And so what makes it practical is to practice unity. To practice unity, to practice seeing with a unified view. What's called a Catholic view, believe it or not. Catholic view meaning to see the unity. I back up, just like I back up from these hands and I see they're my hands. I back up from this world and I see this is all me. This is all mine. Not the ego me. Not that idea of correction, but the Catholic view, the universal view. We back up far enough, we see from where God sees. And this is the opportunity for us for practice. I'll close, and then we'll have an opportunity for a little discussion. There are two paragraphs from a beautiful essay from Swami Shivananda that we might find inspiration with, and I'd like to close just by reading them. Before I started walking pilgrimage, and 11 years ago now, I had started walking a coast-to-coast pilgrimage for peace across the country. And the night before I started, I had read this essay. It's an essay on life. And the last two paragraphs I took as a personal inspiration of practice from that day forward. And I'd just like to share them. This essay, as I mentioned, is life. And the last two paragraphs are headed Unity of Life. So we're inspired in this way. He says, see life as a whole. Have a comprehensive view of life. All life is one. All life proceeds from Brahman, or the Absolute, which is the one and only reality. The Lord breathes in all life. All is one. The world is one home. All are members of one human family. All creation is an organic whole. No man is independent of that whole. Man makes himself miserable by separating himself from others, and separation is death. Unity is eternal life. Cultivate cosmic love. Include all, embrace all, recognize the worth of others. Destroy all barriers that separate man from man. Recognize the non-dual principle, the immortal essence within all creatures. Protect animals. Let all life be sacred. Then this world will be a paradise of beauty, a heaven of peace and tranquility. Smile with the flowers and the green grass. Play with the butterflies, birds, and deer. Shake hands with the shrubs, ferns, and twigs of trees. Talk to the rainbow, wind, stars, and the sun. Converse with the running brooks and the waves of the sea. Speak with the walking stick. Develop friendship with your neighbors, dogs, cats, cows, human beings, trees, flowers, etc. Then you will have a wide, perfect, rich, full life. Then you will realize oneness or unity of life. This can hardly be described in words. You will have to feel it yourself. Okay, so we have a few minutes. Open mic.